Matt Reeves. We love talking the Batman. We love talking DC, and we love Matt Reeves. He's been making a couple quotes, doing a little bit of press. He said the Batman universe might push, quote, to the edge of fantastical, but we would never go into full fantastical, end quote. He said, quote, well, also, what was important to me was to find a way to take these pop icons, these mythic characters that everybody knows, and translate it so that Gotham feels like a place in our world, end quote. Ricky, this is a world that felt super grounded after the first The Batman movie with the Riddler as a villain. I want to know, what does it mean when it says not too fantastical? Like, what villains are really at the disposal here for Matt Reeves that we want to keep it fresh and new but grounded? What do you think is possible for the Batman sequel, villain wise?
Well, all right. If we take a look at what he did with the Batman, right? Riddler, he's not wearing that top hat, bright green suit with question marks all around him. He's wearing basically a cheap raincoat with a hand-drawn question mark and goggles, right? So he's not this pop icon that he mentions here in this quote. He brings him down to earth, and I think here it's like if you're looking at the rumor mill with the Batman 2, it's like you see Clayface be thrown around. So for me, that's like saying, all right, Clayface won't be this huge creature that is like literally clay and it's like drooling and he could shift into different, like he could throw like spears with clay and things like that. No, to me it would be like what we just saw with Batman Caped Crusader, where it's more of a, oh, he was a Hollywood actor and yes, his face got a little messed up similar to Toothpaste, and he just becomes a serial killer. That is what to me would mean, like that is the line for Two Fantastical would be, oh, if Clayface was this literally just a blob of clay, like 10-foot, 15-foot blob of clay throwing weapons out of his blob versus a serial killer. So that for me is like towing the line here of the two fantastical he's referring to. What do you think?
I think that Christopher Nolan kind of screwed Matt Reeves.
Ooh,
I'm
ooh,
looking at
ooh.
the Rogues Gallery, right? Obviously, that's looking back, like historical perspective. Look at the villains that Christopher Nolan chose. Okay, let's just start with The Dark Knight because it's my favorite movie of all time. It's a lot of people's favorite movie, and it's a near perfect movie in my eyes. The Joker is an excellent choice for a grounded villain. He has no superpowers. Okay, he is just maniacal and evil. Even the Riddler for the Batman, no superpowers to him, right? That makes him a great foe for Batman, who he himself has no superpowers. That's one of the best parts about like the Dark Knight trilogy in my eyes and the Batman. It's just a Batman is a guy. He's a person, you know? He doesn't have powers from Krypton or an alternate planet. He didn't fall in a vat of acid that gave him powers, whatever. He's a regular dude. Two-Face is another excellent villain for Batman. Honestly, other than the Joker, he might be number 2 in my eyes. Also, regular guy, no superpowers to him. The way that Christopher Nolan took Scarecrow and then grounded him, he's a therapist who torments people and abuses them. I guess the closest thing that to me is like, oh, that's pushing the line of fantastical, that he has some type of toxin that poisons people. You know, Ra's al Ghul, you grounded him as much as possible, a cultish type leader, and the way they use him in The Dark Knight Rises, and he is, you don't know if he's even real. He's a figment of Bruce's imagination. It was a perfect use for a guy who has fantastical abilities in the comic books. So I'm just looking at Matt Reeves. Christopher Nolan took all the juicy villains that could be grounded. Who people want to see Mr. Freeze? Mr. Freeze, you're not going to see him freezing people to death in a grounded type of way. The backstory for Mr. Freeze is great, right? Him, Nora Freeze, the motivations behind him becoming a villain, but how do you not keep it from being too fantastical, especially with the look? I think you nailed it, Ricky. Clayface is the move because it hasn't been done before. And if you go back to the comic book roots and you're loyal to them, you're doing what Cape Crusader did, right? You're finding a good backstory. You're finding a way you can disfigure this person and still make him feel like he's a part of the Batman world. But I think Nolan took all the good ones.
I agree with you, but I think the one thing I would say is that what we always say with Batman, he arguably has the best villains in any super for any superhero in comic books. So there's so many at his disposal. And they're only going to do three Batman movies. You're going to have one of them be the Joker because you have to, right?
Yes.
So it's already one movie. So it's really we're talking about one other movie that we have to do, right? And we talked about Clayface. You could always see a Black Mask being involved, maybe in a lower capacity. You could see a Hush being involved. That's been in the rumor mill.
That's
Uh,
it.
uh, I know Mr. Freeze would be a little bit on that fantastical, but I feel like you could do something like they did with the Riddler. I don't know what, but basically what you can't do is have the suit. You basically can't have the suit if you're gonna toe the line. If you're gonna toe the line of the fantastical, you can't have the suit. But you could probably do something, especially because if we want to kind of do right our wrongs of previous Batman movies, a la Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, I do trust Matt Reeves to figure out a way, like he did with Riddler, with a Mr. Freeze, and with that juicy backstory with Nora Freeze and whatnot, and his scientific backroots. So, I don't know. Calendar Man's another one. Hugo Strange is another one.
Hugo Strange
Um,
is good. That's a grounded villain, but I think you got to pair him with somebody. He can't hold it on his own.
right, and like again, like we're doing a Penguin. Like Penguin right now. So, I think like again, we are Batman has a deep catalog of villains. We can make it work as again, Joker has to be one of the three. Sorry, one of the, and be the main villain in one of the three movies. Obviously, he wasn't in one. He won't be in two. They're gonna save him for three. It looks like. So it's really just one movie, and I just named a few that they could kind of pair together, or you could have one big bad. I don't know, but again, we already have a Penguin in the mix. We can work with something here.
I take it back. So you said I just read. I've been on my comic book nerd graphic novel game
Well, we know,
recently,
Mr.
and I
Secret
read
Wars. We know.
check out my Secret Wars converse or my Secret Wars
Yeah, it is. It
conversation
wasn't a conversation. It
because I read it. It was just
was
me
a lot.
like me just spitting ideas out. But I recently read The Court of Owls from
Mm.
recent history, Batman graphic novels. There was a recent quote that came from Matt Reeves. He said, "It's going to dig into the epic story about deeper corruption, and it goes into places he couldn't even anticipate in the first one, meaning Batman." So the first movie was all about corruption. How do you go deeper into this corrupt Gotham City where you expose Carmine Falcone as the pseudo mayor of Gotham City without being elected as such? It's the Court of Owls. Going not just into modern day, but centuries of Gotham corruption. You want to go more into the Waynes. You want to dig deeper. You're going to places like that Robert Pattinson's Batman would never have guessed even existed. And the Court of Owls, they are a group, right? They have a a thug, right, or someone that will fight Batman on behalf of the Court of Owls. You might have to add someone else, but I think the Court of Owls are number one if you want to go deeper into corruption of Gotham City. My number one villain for Batman 2.
Hey, well, I will take the loss here, the blame. I remember in our predictions, I mentioned the Court of Owls will be some way mentioned in the first one, which it wasn't. So definitely could see that here again with this theme of corruption. We already did the Falcone. We have the Penguin here. We're gonna get who's the other mob boss? Maroni. Maroni. Um,
Salvatore.
right. So I could totally see corruption continuing this theme. The one issue I have, or one concern I should say, I have with the Batman 2 and this the villain fantastical issue is that if we can't make things fantastical, we can't just make them all serial killers, right? Because we got that with the Riddler.
Yeah.
We have that potentially with the Joker. I know you can
Oh,
make it on a bigger scale, obviously, but we can't do like Clayface and the serial killer thing I mentioned at the top. We're gonna have to make things different. That's why I like the Court of Owls, making this more about even deeper into Gotham, not just about the Waynes, not just about the mafia, the mobs, mafia, whatever you want to call it. The Court of Owls allows that differentiation. You're still digging deeper into Gotham, into Batman, his backstory, and becoming more of a this is the best detective in the world, trying to figure this deep-rooted, 100-plus-year-old Court of Owls story along. So I think that could be a path here to kind of differentiate this trilogy and not make it repetitive.